Alright folks, so we actually have some nice weather today. So what I'm showing is the left hand side filler panel, and I have the installation documentation printed out. So what I did is I went ahead on the right hand side and I actually placed it in that space. So you can see we're talking about on the left hand side there's no panel. We're looking between the fender and the case, and then on this side you can see it's a nice clean finish. It even has a little bit of an opening there for when the top of the case so that you can lift it and whatnot. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start disassembling the bike, and we'll go ahead and get this thing going. I'm most likely, like I said, I think I'm going to have to drill the holes that are required for the mounting hardware. So if you see, there's 4 screws that are going to be required, and then there's these rubber buffers that go between the panel itself and the fender. So let me go ahead and get this thing going and walk you through it. Alright, so we're going to start with the seat. That's going to be a T30. Again, all the parts, I'm going to just organize them. So removing the seat, it's just going to be 2 little clips. We're going to squeeze them, pull that apart. So I had actually wrapped all of my cables from a previous job. So you're going to be cutting the wire ties, and again, you're going to need new wire ties to replace the old. It's nice that fall is settling in here. I'll go ahead and take this piece out. Right. Okay, so these connections, you're going to pinch the very end here. That's going to come off. I'm going to have to get in here with a small screwdriver, and I'm going to just tweak the bottom here. And it allows me to disconnect the wire harness from this mounting bracket. This one pops out, rotates, and I'm going to jump to the other side here. And the right hand side, you got to squeeze all the way at the top where the wiring is, and that comes off. And then same thing, I'm going to have to get in there with a screwdriver and just unlock it so that it comes loose from the mounting bracket. And for the most part, since I have the seat off and everything open, this is always a great time for me to get in there, spray it, and clean up all this extra dust and road debris. Get in there with one of the air tools and just kind of spray it all out. Get a real nice cleaning, especially before storing it over the off season. I'm referencing the Wunderlich side case protection bar documentation, so I have that over on where the seat is. And use a T40 to go ahead and remove the two screws that hold the box onto the mounting frame. So did you guys get all that? So the boxes aren't heavy, so if you have a lot of tools and things like that, take everything out of your cases. But it's easily managed with one person, and just loosen it. It really just rests on this bar right here and on this bracket. So I'm looking at the bracket where the filler pieces are going to be mounted, and I can see I don't have holes, so I'm going to have to definitely take this thing off. It looks like this additional reservoir is also mounted to this bracket. Same with the right hand side. So I'll most likely try the right hand side first, see what it takes to drill through this, and we'll get that started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it off, I'm going to drop the panel on it, I'm going to use the existing holes with a center punch and a marker, at least get that drilled out and see how the first side goes, and we'll take it from there. All right, folks, so this is a little bit of uncharted areas. I haven't had to remove this piece from my bike on any of my jobs. During the installation of the Jekyll and Hyde exhaust system, so this is a new bracket that holds the case. It's part of the Jekyll and Hyde exhaust support structure. So this is a T50, and then I believe this is a T40 in the back corner here. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to just release the support bracket. The fender, so behind the fender is actually part of the frame, which you can see makes up the placement of the seat. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of take this slow. We'll get we'll back out these screws, and we'll take it from there. All right. This feels like this is coming apart pretty easily. Definitely gonna have to clean up. It's a lot of Loctite that's used. All right, so that was fairly straightforward. This, just going by the weight, sounds like or feels like aluminum. So I think it's going to be a fairly straightforward drill. But again, we're going to go ahead, put the bracket on there, kind of temple it out, center punch it, and then go ahead and drill it. Okay, folks, so my center punch isn't long enough to clear the filler panel itself. So what I've done is I actually taped it in 3 different locations. And again, I have it, if you kind of see, there's like a arch in the filler panel. When I place the panel in, it just rests on the tail end of the bracket. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slide in some painter's tape, and then what I'm going to do is take the center punch. I can get the center punch in, it just doesn't, I just can't get it to release that that energy to actually score the paint. But what I can do is I could indicate the place where I want to drill on the painter's tape, and I'll use that to kind of find my position on where I'm going to use the center punch and start to drill. So now that I have that in place, right, I'm going to just go ahead and just kind of mark the tape. And I'm going to be careful not to let the bracket move around too much. All right, go ahead, we'll peel this off and see what we get here. Whether or not that was enough. And if I look closely, I can see where I indicated each of the markers. The tape actually even creates a little bit of an outline for me. So that's nice. So we'll go ahead and take it to the next step. So I'm just going to use my center punch here. And I'm just going to right, that looks good. So the real test is committing, drilling into the bracket. Nice thing is, if I mess up in any way, all of this is hidden behind the cases. But again, I'm going to take it slow, be very methodical about it, and we're not going to make any mistakes. So it's going to look great when we're done. So I went ahead and started off, and I used a unibit or stepper bit, if you can see that. And I'm going to drill a 3/16 from where I started with the unibit. Aluminum's fairly soft, so this is not a heavy lift for the drill. All right, so we're going to go ahead and just clean this up. I may touch it up with the unibit just to widen it a little bit. And I got the hardware ready. We'll go ahead and put that in place, see how it lines up, and we'll take it from there. All right, folks, so just kind of looking. You can see my holes line up really well. My only concern is going to be this screw here, only because there's going to be a little bit of interference due to how close or the proximity to the edge. And certainly when I do the other side, and anyone else who's looking to do this to their bike down the road, we'll take special note to make sure that they stand that off a little bit. Again, I probably just missed it by 1/8 of an inch to really feel perfect about what I was doing here. But again, I think I can overcome this. I'm going to put that screw in first, and then kind of shape the filler panel to line up with the remaining 3 screws. So let me go ahead and get this started, and we'll look at the finished product. So we just kind of lightly started each of the screws, kept them kind of loose, just so I have that ability for it to be a little malleable. And now I'm just going to tighten it down. I don't think this stuff needs to be too tight. It's not going to go anywhere. It's got the brass inserts, but they are keyed, so it's not like over tightening is going to experience the same problem that the airbox experiences with the brass inserts. And all in all, even this one up here, the one I was a little concerned about, it's a nice tight fit, and yeah, it looks pretty good. All right, so just reviewing the Jekyll and Hyde installation documentation. They do call out 50 Newton meters for these bolts that I just went through and tightened. And I'm going to go ahead and clean up the case, get the case mounted back on here, and then we're going to start on the other side. Alright, so I got the right side completed. Got the connector all back, zip tied the cable back. You can kind of see what that looks like. It does. It kind of cleans up the bike. It gives us a real nice continuous look. So, the right hand side. I am going to have to remove the suspension, this reservoir. So I'm probably going to undo this first. Probably just take a rag and tie wrap it to the disc brake there. Then same thing as the right hand side. Just take this whole piece off, lay the filler bracket on it with some tape. We'll try and scar that. Definitely, I'm going to just give myself a little bit more of a budget where the curve in the filler panel rests up against the lines of the bracket itself. So, but again, the right-hand side came out great. Even though I had that little bit of interference on the side there, I was able to make it work, and not too bad. So we'll go ahead and start diving into this and get it done. That reservoir, that's a T40. Seems pretty straightforward. Yeah, all right. I think what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'll use the air wrench to kind of just move things along here a little faster and just blow through this one. I don't know if you could see it in the video, but definitely no shortage of the use of Loctite. As I was backing out that screw, it was just breaking apart. And again, these screws here are torqued to 50 Newton meters. So I'm just going to go ahead and loosen everything up first before I use the air wrench. And it makes things a little bit easier, especially when using the air wrench. I don't want to strip or create any issues on any of the bolts there. So that little extra step of tying off that reservoir, that wasn't too bad. So I went ahead and just approximated the tape location, and I'm going to just go ahead and place and try and secure the mount. And again, I'm giving myself a little bit more wiggle room so that I don't get that interference from the screw as I come up from the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and just mark up the tape, and I'm just using this little torch tool that allows me to kind of spin. And all right, I got something I can work with here. I'm just going to go through and tap. And keep in mind, this piece is aluminum, so drilling it is not a chore in any way. So I'm going to go ahead, I'll start off with the unit bit, and then I want to say it was a 3/16, and then I'll drill it out with a 3/16. We'll get all the metal burrs, dispose of them responsibly, and all right, that's pretty straightforward. Switch it up. All right. And then on the right hand side, I did go back to the unit bit, and I just drove it out a little bit just to give me a little wiggle room in lining up the screws with the template panel. All right, so let me go ahead and clean this up. We'll get all the tape off. I'm going to clean up. I got to clean the exhaust. Again, I'm going to take the opportunity to go ahead and clean the bike. and we'll see how things line up. All right, so I just cleaned up the part, and looking straight down, I don't know if the video captures that, but you can see everything lines up nicely. So I think this is going to be a ground ball. Let me just go ahead and get these screws in, and we'll take it from there. So I've done a bunch of little upgrades. Again, my bagger, I took some of the things I really liked about the Transcontinental and applied them to my Model B. You know, the winglets, of course, the lower leg wind protection. I assembled that. I already had the engine bar. I got that when I purchased the vehicle. And you know, the Jekyll and Hyde exhaust system, and then just little things, right? So again, the Transcontinental passenger footrest, which is just a little bit bigger, but it also has the chrome, which, you know, just a nice little finish touch for the bike. And outside of that, this year, I really don't think there's much more that I would actually want to apply to my bike at this point. Things have been, you know, I like it just really the way it is. It's been a great bike. Like I said, most of my friends that I ride with, they all have Harleys, and it's a bike I think we probably have all considered at one time. I've always liked the street glide. I've always liked the road glide. And, you know, when I saw this and seeing its resemblance to to the street glide, and, you know, price and then quality and the technology that BMW put into this, it wasn't a hard decision to, you know, again, pound for pound, dollar for dollar, you know, the BMW definitely was a sound purchase. My wife definitely agreed with the price. If that was probably my biggest hurdle in getting the bike, was I had to get rid of one bike in order to get this bike. So yeah, I got everything loosely put in place. I'm going to go ahead and tighten that up. I'm going to get in there with some detail spray, clean it up. I just want to coat the chrome with some chrome finish, and then we'll start pulling this thing back together, and then this will be done. Alright, so I got things cleaned up. I'm going to go ahead and just apply some Loctite. I'm going to do this across the board. It's actually kind of good to get in here and tighten things up from time to time. So you can go ahead and just sort of set that up. I tried cleaning that up a little bit. It just doesn't really clean up all that well. I don't know if the paint is just really not, it's not really well painted. I'm going to get in there and clean up a little bit more. I see, like, you know, some of these spots that you just can't really get to when the bags are in place or when the exhaust is in place. It's going to allow me to get in there and clean it up a little bit. So let me just kind of keep plugging away. I don't know if you guys can see, but 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you can see I got plenty of room. This one right here, this was the one I was most concerned about. So yeah, just bringing it up just a little bit more, giving yourself a little bit more space, certainly is going to help. So I'm going to go ahead and start tightening everything up. My compressor is probably going to turn on, but I'll probably speed through this. Get that bag, clean up behind the bag, underneath the bag, wipe everything down in here, And really, for the most part, put all the wiring back together, re-tie wrap the cable. You'll see on my bags I actually put additional wiring protection. But again, still, while I have everything off, as I just kind of look around, I'm going to get into some of these hard to get spots and make sure I clean up the bike. So this is one of the more affordable little upgrades that you can do on your bike. Can't say that it's one that a lot of people are going to notice, but again, doesn't really matter, right? As long as you like it, I think is what really matters here. But this overall was not terribly expensive. I want to say it was like $163, I think, for the kit. And you know, the time to put into it, pretty minimal. You know, was not wasn't bad at all. So I'm just gonna start these screws with just by hand tightening them, and then we'll get in there and I'll tighten them up. The screw should be in here. It is. But all in all, you know, it took a little bit, only because the bracket, I assume the ROCTANE has the holes already pre-drilled, and you know, for the Transcontinental or the bagger, you know, you're going to have to retrofit your own holes. But again, based on this job, it's not terribly hard to do. It was pretty straightforward. And you know, just kind of looking at it, it certainly does clean up that whole back edge of the bike. Again, it's in line with what BMW, what you would expect from a BMW. So we're going to go ahead. I'm going to get the seat, finish up the wiring, get a couple wire ties on there, and I'll just do a quick walkthrough, and I'll also post the installation documentation so that everyone can kind of see what I was working from. Just going to clean up the wire ties. Get all this cabling back together. It's coming together pretty nicely. I'm going to put the bracket on. Again, that's going to be a T30 Torx. This is one that I always start with my fingers before I put a tool on it. But I'll use my drill. All right. So that's the finished product. And again, you know, just the other little upgrades, right? So we have the Jekyll and Hyde exhaust. We got the Roland Sands reservoir caps, the lower wing protection, the winglets, and I have the whole front end, the auxiliary lights and directionals from the Transcontinental. And that is all, at least my auxiliary lights, is turned on by this switch that I put in the auxiliary 12-volt accessory port. So all in all, it's looking pretty good. And again, right, my Jekyll and Hyde switch is right here. I didn't want to put it up on the handlebars, but just looking at the that space, cleaned up real nice. It's nice that it actually came painted. I didn't have to take an extra trip to the body shop. And again, this is a fairly inexpensive upgrade. Not that anyone is going to notice, but you know, for myself, it's something that I'll notice, and I'm going to be happy that I did it. All right. So again, I hope this helps. This is the ROCTANE filler panel installation on a 2022 Model B. All right, folks. Take care. Thanks.